How are you enjoying the onset of dictatorship in India? What we are witnessing is the death of democracy.
For the umpteenth time, Congress de facto chief Rahul Gandhi has accused the Modi government of murdering democracy and capturing institutions. But history is testimony to how Congress murdered democracy, captured and damaged institutions, and abused the constitution. Let's start with Nehru. At the dawn of India's independence, an internal election was held to decide the president of the Congress who would eventually become independent India's first Prime Minister. 12 of the 15 Pradesh Congress committees had voted for Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Except for a handful of working committee members, none of the Pradesh Congress committee had even nominated, let alone endorsed the name of Nehru. Yet Nehru leveraged his rapport with Gandhi, who asked Patel to withdraw, thus allowing Nehru to become INC president and India's first Prime Minister. From then till today, the Congress has remained under the clutches of one family and has been functioning antithetical to democracy. Nehru, who is considered as a liberal icon and a beacon of democracy, introduced the first amendment to the constitution to curb free speech in a bid to crack down on political opponents and the press critical of his government. Poet and lyricist Majrooh Sultanpuri was arrested and jailed for a year for a poem that he wrote critical of Nehru. In another incident, late Gandhian thinker Dharampal had penned an open letter to MPs asking for Nehru's resignation on moral grounds for leading India to a humiliating defeat in the war with China. He, along with his friends Narendranath Datta and Roop Narayan, who were also signatories to the letter, were slapped with sedition charges for their anti-national activity and were imprisoned in Tihar jail. In 1959, Nehru, at the insistence of his daughter Indira Gandhi, whom he had elevated as the Congress president that year, toppled the first ever non-Congress government that was formed under communist leader EMS Namboodiripad in Kerala. Such has been the democratic legacy of Nehru. His daughter Indira Gandhi surpassed him to become a dictator. After Indira grabbed power, she did all she could to murder India's democracy and institutions. In November 1966, Indira Gandhi opened fire on Hindu sadhus sitting outside Parliament who had marched towards Delhi with the demand of banning cow slaughter in India. When veteran leaders of the Congress led by Morarji Desai revolted and reduced Indira Gandhi's majority in the Parliament, she allied with the Communist Party of India to hold on to power. In return for their favour, Indira Gandhi established the Jawaharlal Nehru University and an openly leftist academic Syed Nurul Hasan was made the Education Minister of India in 1971. The JNU was established to produce and train what Indira believed would form the core of a committed bureaucracy, committed primarily to her and her leftist friends. The institution acquired a deep shade of red thanks to the curricula and faculty carefully chosen by Hasan from his pool of pro-CPI teachers. This is how Indira captured institutions. Not just educational institutions, even the judiciary was not spared by Indira Gandhi. In April 1973, she superseded 3 Supreme Court judges to appoint Justice A.N. Ray as the Chief Justice of India. Indira Gandhi took this decision a day after the Supreme Court delivered the verdict on the landmark Keshavananda Bharati case, which declared that while Parliament can amend the Constitution, it cannot alter or interfere with its basic structure. The 3 judges who were superseded were part of the majority judges who did not deliver the verdict to Indira Gandhi's liking. In another instance, Indira Gandhi superseded Justice Khanna and appointed Justice Beg as the Chief Justice of India, as the former was the dissenting judge in the famous habeas corpus case in which Indira Gandhi government argued that the citizens did not have the right to life and personal liberty when emergency was in proclamation. On emergency, the less said, the better. Parliamentary procedures were bulldozed. Judiciary was overruled, press was attacked, thousands were jailed, and civil liberties of the public were suspended. It was during this time that Indira Gandhi inserted the term secular in the preamble to appease minorities. Many other provisions of the constitution were tampered that provided discretionary powers to the Prime Minister. She usurped all powers to herself only to deteriorate the internal security of the country further. People were forcibly sterilized with their son Sanjay Gandhi spearheading the move. The democratic and federal character of India came under threat when Indira Gandhi was PM, as during her collective stint of 14 years, she imposed Article 356 and toppled state governments 50 times. During the era of Sonia Gandhi Manmohan Singh, the Congress tried to capture the Election Commission as well. Naveen Chawla, a man considered close to Congress chief Sonia Gandhi, was appointed as Election Commissioner in 2005. Chawla, who was accused of partisan behavior by then Chief Election Commissioner N. Gopalswamy, went on to become Chief Election Commissioner the very same year. So before accusing any other party of being anti-democratic and capturing institutions, it would do good for the Congress to introspect its own track record.